Nick Schaefer. It's nice to meet you. These are my partners, Colin Donahue and John Hokinson. We've taken the liberty of printing out our presentation on this flip book here, so you can go ahead and flip through. It's actually an exact copy of the PowerPoint, so there's no discrepancies. So feel free to just go along as we go through our presentation.
And we do want to thank you for your time today. We're excited for what we have to show you.
We're going to give you an overview of our Salomo plan for the Ritz. A little bit about the Ritz. They specialize in exquisite event hosting and catering. They're located north of Indianapolis and work out of the greater Indianapolis area for their target market. And currently they target the individuals with a high discretionary income and local businesses within the area. Currently their promotional strategies consist of mainly word of mouth advertising, and the 60% of their revenue comes from weddings.
Just a little bit about the target market, as John touched on just briefly. We're looking for individuals and businesses as well. So not only individuals, but also we're looking at businesses. In addition, we're looking for that high discretionary income. And so our number is $80,000 of that base level income. And then also we're looking at the greater Indianapolis area, obviously.
So as far as the geographics and demographics of Indianapolis, 30% of the state's population is in the greater Indianapolis area, so it gives us a wide customer base, which is a good thing. But a limitation of the area is the weather can sometimes be a factor. If there's an outdoor event and a rainout occurs, the Ritz will often assume all losses if the customer does not reschedule, so that's something that is negative. But as you can see here, the suburbs of Indianapolis have a much higher average household income than the city itself, which is why we kind of wanted to focus on those suburbs in our plan.
So here's a basic breakdown of the current promotional strategies that the Ritz-Charles uses right now. As you can see at the top, they have 17 full-time event consultants. These people are set up on computers. They communicate back and forth with past and future customers. The Ritz-Charles also spends $1,500 per year on search engine optimization. They evenly split that money between Google, Yahoo, and Bing. The Ritz-Charles also relies heavily on word-of-mouth advertising.
So as far as their current social media, we took the Ritz and compared their social media to their two most prevalent competitors in the area, the ICC and 502 East, and we noticed that the Ritz is actually leading in 0 of the categories that we took into factor, which is very detrimental to the business, because according to our secondary research, 47% of customers who follow a business on social media are more likely to purchase good or service from them. So if we're losing these social media battles, we're also going to be losing customers in the end game. So that's something that's very important.
Just a quick overview of our rationale behind our research. And so in order to create that strong rationale, we needed some secondary research. So as you can see, we talked about social media a little bit. That's going to be a big part of our plan. In addition, we're looking at that small business field guide to Salomo. And so Salomo is, again, that social, local, and mobile marketing. So that's going to be kind of the focus of our entire plan. You're going to see that in each of our objectives.
So here's a basic timeline of our primary research methods, starting with the interview with you, the CEO. Moved on to the generation-based customer survey. We went into a focus group with metropolitan area brides. Then we did a wedding catering observation, and then a follow-up interview as well with you. So the first part of our primary research was the interview with the CEO. We gained some background information on the company, as well as some important financial information. But this interview is a large part in leading change. We need you as the CEO to completely buy into a Salomo promotional plan in order to make this successful. As we talked about in the past, you guys as the Ritz-Charles as a company don't necessarily believe in the promotional aspect, and you think it's hard to promote a hospitality business in the area. But the plan that we're about to give you, we think, is going to increase revenue unbelievably, and we need you to completely buy into it in order for the rest of the company to buy into it as well. Here's the first thing we did, or the first part of our survey, probably the biggest part of our primary research. We did a 2-part survey. The first part utilizing the Likert scale, in which we give a statement to our participants, and they're asked to rate their assurance in the statement on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being strongly disagree and 5 being strongly agree. We surveyed 100 people. These people were evenly distributed between Generation X, Y, and baby boomers. They were also evenly distributed between the 6 cities in the Indianapolis metropolitan area. So a lot of the first part of the survey was Salomo based. As you can see, a lot of these statements are Salomo based, and these are average results, by the way. But the biggest thing we wanted to talk about is the score of 2.6 on the I am familiar with the Ritz-Charles services. A 2.6 is a very low score, and it shows that the Ritz-Charles hasn't necessarily branded themselves very well in this area. The second part of our survey was a multiple choice segment. The first question we asked was, which form of social media do you use most frequently? As you can see, Snapchat and Twitter dominate that. The next question being, when searching for local products or services, I most commonly use the following search engine. And as you can see, Google dominated this big time. The third question we asked was, I most consistently use the following form of communication. Cellular texting dominated this, with email in a close second.
So as far as our observation, when we attended the wedding at the Ritz-Charles, we really went in there with a promotional focus to see if there was anything the customers and the guests were doing that the Ritz wasn't really tapping into. So first thing we noticed right off the bat was the service was very popular and professional amongst the guests, always readily available and very polite, and the guests seemed to enjoy that very much. Next, the music was popular. The DJ stayed quiet and took requests, which was very much appreciated by the guests. The food, very high-end and exquisite. The guests were going back up for seconds and enjoying that very much. But the main thing we noticed about this reception was that there was so much smartphone usage. There was pictures being taken, videos being taken, things being uploaded to social media, and the Ritz didn't really seem like they were in tap with this aspect of the reception. So that's something we're going to focus on in our plan.
For our focus group, we looked at brides, considering they're a big part of our business. And so we actually brought in brides from the Indy Monthly Bridal Show we attended back in October. And we also went to bridal shops around northern Indianapolis in that suburb area. And so we came up with 12 brides and asked them to come in. We actually led a conversation focus group and gained some good information. So what we came to find is the Snapchat was very popular. Actually 11 out of the 12 brides we surveyed were active users. In addition, 50% of the brides were interested in our services but weren't informed. So again, we're talking about that promotional focus. Moving on to cell phone usage, texting, calling, email, those are big forms of communication, especially among brides, among all generations. And then finally, the personalization of advertisements. They don't want to feel like just another bride. They want to feel like important. This is a very special event to them, very important, and so we want to make them feel as special as possible.
So here's the conclusions we came to based on our research. The first one about social trends. We found that the Ritz-Charles hasn't necessarily taken advantage of social trends in the area. This is shown by their lack of social media presence, with a weak Twitter and not even having a Snapchat when that's the most prevalent in the area. The next part being search engine issues. Given that they spend $1,500 a year and they evenly split that between Google, Yahoo, and Bing, we feel as if that's not the most efficient way to go about this, considering that Google is so dominant in this area. Brand recognition, as shown by the score of 2.6 on the Likert scale section, asking if people are familiar with the Ritz-Charles products and services. We believe the Ritz-Charles hasn't necessarily branded themselves as well as possible in the area. And the fourth conclusion we came to about communication. Residents of the Indianapolis metropolitan area tend to use cellular texting and email above other forms of communication.
So here are our recommendations to fix these issues that the Ritz is currently having with Salomo. So first, we're going to want to redevelop our Twitter account. Our Twitter account is losing to our two most current competitors, and that is not something that we want to continue. So we already have a very strong follower base on Facebook. So we're going to take our Facebook base and try to move it over onto our Twitter by posting links to the tweets on our Facebook. So how that'll work is we'll utilize our current social media team, and we're expecting that some of that follower base will shift over to onto our Twitter, and we'll be sending a lot of tweets out per month, more than we have been, to increase our exposure there. And next, we're going to develop a geo filter for the Ritz-Charles main location in Carmel. Are you familiar with geo filter on Snapchat, sir? No? Do you mind if my partner pulls one up on his phone as an example? All right. So here, as you can see, this is the downtown Indianapolis Snapchat filter. Indianapolis actually has a few, and this is just one of them. As you can see, it's just a little thing that says downtown Indianapolis with a picture. You can also put a video on Snapchat as well. But so what we'll have at this bottom part here, we'll have the Ritz-Charles logo, and what people will do is they'll take videos or pictures and use that logo and send it out to all their friends on Snapchat, and that'll lead to further questions from guests such as, what's the Ritz-Charles, what services do they provide, the wedding looks fun, that event looks fun, and then it'll lead to further questions and further people of similar types that use Snapchat to come to the Ritz for future events. So that's something that we are really excited about. Next, we're going to implement AdWords Express, which is a Google search engine optimization. And how that works is the Ritz-Charles will pick a few keywords such as catering, hosting, weddings, things of that nature, and anybody in the greater Indianapolis area that searches for those, the Ritz-Charles will be the first that comes up. So currently the Ritz is splitting their money three ways between Google, Yahoo, and Bing, and according to our primary research, Google is the most used form of a search engine in the area. So we're really going to want to pool all our money into there to it'll be increase in website traffic, and we'll have more success there. And finally, we're going to implement constant contact, which is you can send out mass texts and emails to current customers or potential future customers. And we really think implementing that communication between customer and business is really important in success, and it gives the Ritz that personal touch and that luxury and convenience that our competitors cannot offer. So we think that'll be a competitive edge we have over other businesses in the area of similar types, and we believe if we successfully implement all these, it'll lead to slow-mo promotional success.
Moving on, in order to make all of these objectives work, we need an effective budget. And so we're going to break down the costs and then the return on that initial investment. So to begin, we have our Twitter and Facebook reconstruction. We're going to use our Facebook, our current platform. We have 1,500 friends, and we're going to actually merge that and post our Twitter links on that Facebook page. And so in order to kind of bounce off each other and build that, our Twitter and Facebook objectives will actually be free. Moving on, Snapchat, the way our geofilter is going to work, it's based on square footage to enclose our building, and so at 15,000 square feet, the Ritz Charles would come in at about $300 per month, which is going to total $3,600 per year. Again, AdWords Express, based on our clicks, based on the clicks generated, that's going to charge us each month, and so based on our data, we're estimating an $83 a month charge, totaling $1,000 per year. Finally, Constant Contact, we had one of their lower level packages, which is $20 a month, and so it's going to total $240 per year. Twitter and Facebook, as far as the return on investment, we're looking at a huge increase in exposure in Twitter. And so we start we have 180 followers right now on Twitter. If we can kind of bounce off our Facebook and Twitter profiles, we're looking at a 300% exposure increase. And again, based on our primary research, based on that 47% number of social media followers and business associated with that, we're looking on a very big return there. Moving on, Snapchat being our most expensive objective for the budget. Based on our Snapchat geofilter, it's going to cost us $300 a month. We're looking to get that money back by the people attending our events. We have 30 events per month, and so we're estimating that if 5 to 10% of those people use the geofilter and we get our word out there enough, we're estimating that we can get up to 5.5 events increased each year. And so that's going to provide an incredible amount of revenue. Finally, AdWords Express. Moving on, AdWords Express, we have that's that primary listing, and so currently 2.7% of our website traffic generates business, and so with AdWords Express, we're actually going to be estimating we're going to move up to about 70% more website traffic, so that's going to increase our profits exponentially. Finally, Constant Contact. We talked briefly about what Constant Contact is. Constant Contact, the basic package we have, is a 10,000 customer threshold, and so how we're going to use that, we currently have 500 people we're going to send out to, and we're estimating on the low end a 1% success rate based on those communications. And so if we get that 1%, that will be 5 out of those 500, and we'll have a lot of business coming from that. And so Constant Contact actually provides us data with which we can use and to estimate with. And so they estimate their success rates between 4 and 5. So we wanted to have that realistic, lower expectations so we can move up and eventually meet that 4 to 5% goal. So total, we're looking at a little under 1% of our profits from last year are going to go to this implementation, and we're looking at a 9.9%, almost 10% increase in profits. So all in all, we're going to have a $55,000 annual increase in revenue. And again, this is that realistic objective. We're not going to come in here and tell you we're going to increase your revenue by $200 million each year, but it's going to be a realistic objective you can implement next year and have an increase in profits. So with that, is there anything you have questions on? Any concerns?
And make sure when you talk about the 1%, say it's because it's new technology.
Okay, yeah.
That's like the only thing. I thought we did pretty well.
I'm worried about time.